The shape of justice, roots hold me close, wings set me free, Spirit of life, come to me, come to me.
I'm going to start us out with a generic joy, hopefully. Raise your hand or stand up if you're happy to be back here, and this feels kind of cool. Yeah, me too. Me too. There will be mistakes made today. I've been telling everybody, they're worried about all that. I'm like, we're not going to get this entirely right. The streaming will get screwed up. Something will go wrong. And as we all know, things go wrong in our own lives. So if anyone has a candle of joy or concern, I'm going to, just rather than come up and get in line and risk those things, if anyone just wants to share what's on your heart or mind, please do.
I'm able to visit my mother for the first time in 14 months.
Yes, Louise Allison, yes. Right. It's Dale's daughter, Tara, and she played the bass. You probably saw her on the television. She made her professional debut, right? We paid her a little bit. That's good. Yeah, cool. Great. Andy, I think we'll probably all hear you.
I don't know. Can you hear me? I have a great joy. On Tuesday, I'm celebrating 30 years of marriage to my wife, Janet.
Wow. 20 of them good years, too. Linda.
Yes, our granddaughter, Berta Nigos, is graduating from LMU next weekend.
That's Linda and Dennis, and they're becoming new members, but they've been long-time UUs. You'll hear all about it. Steve.
My granddaughter got accepted to UC Santa Cruz, the school.
Right. Chelsea.
My mom still has problems recovering just shortly of scalp pain. I've got just 2 more surgeries to go after June or July, whenever the lawsuit ends. So, yay! And slowly to be back here with you.
Yeah. Leanne's going to light one more. 2 more. Where? We'll light final candle for joy for all that remains unsaid. For a year of, being locked up. We've had about 2 or 3 people who've had COVID. Probably the greatest joy is that no one in our congregation died of COVID, and I don't believe anyone whose immediate family died of COVID for us. So people passed away, but not from COVID, which is a joy. But we're back, and the numbers are getting good. So that's all good, and I think we've all learned a lot culturally about a weird combination of a year, right? It's been a pandemic and a year of sort of racial reckoning and awareness that's kind of been environmentally we had a good year, less running around, less air traffic, all of that. Good and bad. A lot of deaths, though. Bad stuff. Here's our prayer. I was thinking of the new members when I found this and tinkered with it a little bit. It says, let me tell you a little bit about yourself. To one extent or another, the following is true. You, as I am, are self-conscious about your appearance. You, as I do, feel guilty about the things you've done or failed to do. You sometimes, as I do, have a hard time accepting yourself or forgiving others. You are, as I am, are sexually insecure, at least a little. I, like you, worry about our health. You, like me, are a less than perfect parent or a less than perfect child of imperfect parents, likely both. Beyond all this, your life has perpetual stresses in it, and yet moments of brief but inexplicable happiness. You, as I do, worry about aging, sometimes about dying. Likely more than once your heart has been broken by betrayal or loss. And yet, as I am magical, whole in the way only I can be, so are you. You, as I am, are likely where we belong and doing constructive things to preserve our lives. We gather for that purpose. We take that thought and that general universality of what it is to be alive to a bit of silence and then musical meditation. Isn't that just so simply pretty? So good, Seth. Really are. I want to invite our membership rep, Robin Earhart's going to come join me. And you have some reading things to do. You're not going to read all the parts, just the part that says congregation members. And that's only if you're a member. If you're not a member, then violate the code and the volcano attacks if we do it wrong. Isn't that true, Rob? No. Now is the time in our service that we honor our newest members in their decision to join our church family. I invite you to stand up in front of your chair, if you don't mind, for all those who are new. We got about a dozen folks. Some of them were here last year, but we had a pandemic, if you didn't notice. Take it away there, Robin. Okay, there we go.
Will the present members of our PUC church welcome these people into our congregation? Will you reach out to them in friendship, including them in our activities and fellowship? Will you be open to their unique gifts and perspectives? Will you extend a warm welcome to each of them, remembering that each of us was once a new member?
No, you got words. Commitment with yours.
With yours. Our vision is to be an open-minded spiritual community that celebrates diversity and lives successfully with both its gifts and challenges. We seek to understand and appreciate the great diversity of people and ideas in the world.
So, in case you don't know me, my name is Melissa Terrell, and I'm the president of the Board of Trustees here in our beautiful, beloved community. And it is such a joy to be here with everyone today and to see that we have new members to welcome. I charge you as new members to grow in your faith. More importantly, I charge you to find and share your special gifts with us. Ours is a shared ministry, with each of us having a crucial role to play. We need you. We really, really need you. We need your energy and your ideas. Give generously of yourselves, and your rewards will be great. Thank you.
It is a joy to welcome each of you into our community of memory and hope. Will you, as new members, walk together with us, sharing the joys and the responsibilities of membership? If you will, say yes. Yes. Please accept our congregation's gifts and warm welcome. Each of you brings light, vitality, and renewal to our community. Thanks for officially becoming a part of us.
Together we form a beacon of hope to each other and the world. May your light shine brightly among us for many years to come. Welcome to Pacific Unitarian Universalist Church. Thank you all, and congratulations. You want to tell people what we're going to do?
So if each new member could come up as I read a little bit about them to introduce them to our congregation, and you could sign the book here next to your name, which is printed, and then you can have a little bit of a gift. We have a UU tote bag and a lei, and the lei will let everybody know that you're a new member so we can all welcome you. So I'm gonna, everybody, you can sit down, and then you can stand and walk up and sign while I read. I'm gonna start with Jeff, who's here today. So Jeff, if you wanna give Jeff a welcome.
Yeah.
And Jeff, if you wanna sign the book and gather your gifts, okay. So Jeff London has been attending PUC with his family for about 2 years. We didn't have a ceremony last year, so he's been very patient. Jeff is a gamer, a coder, and a philosopher. He enjoys online role-playing games, learning new computer languages such as Python, and spending time outdoors. He's involved in my PUC Chalice Circle and also the Men's Support Group. Jeff is interested in church events for young adults and philosophical discussions of all types. Welcome, Jeff.
Welcome aboard.
Okay, I'm next going to welcome Amy Pham. Amy has been attending PUC for about 2 years. She and her husband have 3 children, Jet, age 15, Jax, age 13, and Jace, age 9. Amy makes use of her undergrad degree in bio as a science teacher in her homeschooling community for her 2 younger boys. In her before kids life, Amy was first an interior designer and then a human resources professional. Right now, she's in graduate school again with her ultimate goal of being a nurse practitioner for mental health. In her spare time, Amy likes to cook and read. She enjoyed participating in Laundry Love before the lockdown and looks forward to becoming more involved at church after return. Welcome, Amy. I'm going to introduce Dale Stewart. Was not able to be here today, but we're welcoming her digitally. Dr. Dale Stewart is a PUC returning member whose drive to live passionately is an inspiration to many. She's had full careers as first a successful aerospace engineer and then as a 7-time world champion skydiver. Currently, Dale is a private practice clinical psychologist and speaker, specializing in supporting the unique social and emotional needs of the gifted. Her other current passions include fine art photography, bread making, and quilting. She looks forward to chats on the patio again soon. Welcome, Dale. Suzanne Lusader, sorry. Suzanne can't be with us today, but she's also been in the wings for about 2 years. She's a Southern California native and businesswoman who's run 3 separate companies in her lifetime. For the past 22 years, Suzanne has headed Sheer Vision, a Rolling Hills company which provides small medical devices primarily for dental and medical markets. Some of you may recognize her previous business as well, Dessert of the Month Club, an international gourmet dessert mail order company. Since joining us about a year and a half ago, Suzanne has become an enthusiastic participant in many of our adult RE programs, whether in person or via Zoom. So welcome to Suzanne. I'd also like to welcome Dr. Frank Adams and Dr. Maureen Swenson. If you want to, yeah. Dr. Frank Adams and Maureen moved to the LA area about 8 years ago from Texas to be near grandchildren. Dr. Adams retired from being an in-hospital gastroenterologist last year, and Dr. Swenson continues to practice family medicine with Kaiser. Frank and Maureen love walking with grandchildren and listening to music. Maureen enjoys gardening and tutors through Schools on Wheels. Frank volunteers for CASA, a program for foster youth, and along with Maureen, for health clinics. They have been active with the Adult RE program, Frank particularly in the anti-racist deeper dive meetings. Welcome, Frank and Maureen. And I'd like to welcome Debbie Murphy, returning member. Yay, Debbie. Debbie Murphy is a returning member who many of you remember moved away for a time for her kidney and liver transplant. Her late son, Chris, went through the PUC RE program many years ago. With her health on the upswing, Debbie has returned to the South Bay and is ready to join us again. A former massage therapist, Debbie is currently a returning student with an interest in journalism. She loves being active in the church and has worked in RE and at the welcome table. At the moment, she's an enthusiastic participant in the anti-racist committee. Welcome. And now I'd like to welcome Ruth Stewart. Ruth, yay.
Welcome, Ruth.
Ruth Stewart is a retired librarian from Long Beach City, where she specialized in art and music and ran the adult literacy program. In addition to books, art, and music, Ruth also loves nature and travel. She's very interested in social activism and loves the intellectual stimulation and democratic basis of UU. A former member of the Long Beach Church, she was drawn to PUC's many adult RE classes and our focus on social action. Welcome, Ruth.
Welcome.
And now I'd like to welcome an entire family. We have Julie and Matt Hill and their 2 children, Andrew, age 10, and Aurelia, age 7. Yay! Julie is a mechanical engineer, and Matt is currently a stay-at-home dad who homeschools their kids. Fun facts. Julie has a degree in opera and is speaking, and is a published public speaking coach. Sorry, I think I need some help. And Matt holds degrees in history, chemistry, and biology. Andrew loves to read, and Ray loves to dance ballet. The Hills enjoy hiking and volunteer at the Palos Verde Land Conservancy, where they serve as docents. Thank you so much for joining me. Not here today, but we want to welcome Dr. Marie King. Dr. Marie King is a clinical psychologist specializing in psychoanalysis. She splits her grandma time between Pacific Palisades and Texas, visiting her 4 grandchildren. She can also be found playing mahjong while humming opera tunes. Marie has been attending the French Conversation group here at PUC for some time. She's also passionate about social justice and feminism and is interested in starting a consciousness-raising group addressing feminist issues. So let's give a welcome to Dr. Marie King. I'd also like to welcome Cynthia Rowe. Cynthia practices family medicine under her maiden name, Dr. Fisher. She's returning to PUC after a good many years in the Unity Church here in the South Bay and in Detroit, Michigan, where she lived for many years. Cynthia plays the flute and piccolo in 2 community bands. She enjoys sewing, quilting, gardening, and walking her dog. Cynthia is very passionate about her newly created local chapter of Zonta, an international women's service organization. Welcome, Cynthia. And last but not least, we welcome Linda and Dennis Jensen to our family community. Linda and Dennis Jensen became Unitarians in their hometown of Omaha in 1975, where they were part of a group of founders of an Omaha UU church. They have since been UUs in Maryland, Pennsylvania, and Florida before moving to Redondo Beach this past October. They have held numerous UU positions and leadership roles, including programming, social activities, membership, greeting and ushering, and finance. They moved to Redondo Beach to be closer to their 2 children and their families. Their daughter and her family are in Hermosa Beach, and their son and his family are in Arroyo Grande. They visit PUC in the summer, visited here in the summer of 2020 and felt an immediate connection. We're so glad you're here. So thank you, and let's give one more warm welcome to all of the new members.
Congrats to all of us for you guys. Good, smart group of people. What church has a skydiver in it professionally? I'll tell you. Which I only say because I've got a great skydiving joke. Which goes, if at first you don't succeed, skydiving may not be for you. I like to, when I think about how to tell a story, I try to find some kind of interesting way to, daydream it up. And I think of like ancient activities taking place in modern context. This isn't an ancient activity to induct new members or to try to instruct people as to how they might talk about our crazy tradition. But I thought, I was designing these elevator speeches, and then I realized it would be great to put our faith on Shark Tank and see what they would say, right? So I came up with something called Think Tank. You'll see the slides coming up. There we go. So, and it would be interesting to sort of present, right, what it is to be a UU to a group of people to see where you'd find the natural holes to sort of smart kind of business-minded people. So that's the theme of the service. But I would walk down the aisle. They walk down that alleyway if you've ever seen it. I don't really watch the show much. And there's sort of dim blue lighting everywhere. It's kind of a gorgeous little set. And then they walk up and there's a sort of an established presentation that they sort of start making their pitch at, right? It's sort of preset. So I would imagine that there's a TV and but I would come down and I would say the first joke. Let's see where we are. Okay. I'd say, what do you get when you cross a Jehovah's Witness and a Unitarian Universalist, the sharks that were out front? And then they would have a sign that would say what you're going to say. Probably our best joke, actually. And then I would say, do you know that the UUs are really up in arms? And they would say, and then I imagine Mark Cuban say, that's an odd way to introduce your church. And I would say that these jokes are kind of funny. Nobody loves the quirky nature of what it is to be a UU more than we UUs do. And we're both this sort of enigmatic, kind of open-minded country club where you can believe anything you want as long as you're polite about it. And we are a little of that. I like to think we're a little more of an institution with a mission to create change and build our little part of the world into a beloved community free from oppression that builds a world free from oppression and built with equity in mind. It's both formally, we believe in doing nothing destructively, and then we also believe in making the world a better place. The blonde gal who's in the blue dress a lot, I imagine her asking, what is the history of this church you're proposing? And I'd say that we've come out of the Protestant wing of Christianity, but we've come to be too inviting, maybe too embracing, too broad-minded to believe that that is exclusively who we were or are. And just around the time in the New England area where they needed new churches, there was a split, and we became the liberal wing of that. We rejected the idea, like most people do today. I'm going to make the pitch to you guys as if I was making the pitch to them. That we're not as inherently evil and sinners as some of those classic versions of Christianity might tell us. In fact, when we were starting to be who we were beginning to build society in the modern way that we see it today, right? We're a modern faith. It's really only in America about a couple hundred years old, maybe a little more. We asked these questions about how Jesus could possibly be equal to the Creator back in the day, and that set us down a path. The split eventually took those churches that were the puritanical churches in New England, and it sort of divided them in a way they hadn't been divided before. One of the sharks asked, it sounds like there's been a merger, and there has been a merger. A split that kept us apart maybe longer than we should have been apart between the Unitarians and the Universalists. Unitarians were generally a little bit more historically a little wealthier and a little bit better educated and generally more urban. Universalists were generally more rural, remained a little bit more Christian for a long time. But we have become a place in which everyone sort of walks through the doors. We believe that we are not a religion of the future. We believe we might be the religion of the future, and that is why we've come to bring our proposal to you for funding and general marketing advice. The sort of balding shark guy asks, what do you do about guests? How open is your community? You're not cult, are you? No. We're very hospitable to strangers, new peoples, and new ideas. That's sort of what makes us novel, I would say. We mostly are committed to being kind and tolerant, but behind those values is a core wisdom that we think comes from all the world traditions. So in our odd gatherings of people, we have a mix of metaphors from the Christian faith, from Hinduism, from science, from everything that feels like it's true. We are the tip of the arrow religiously where the modern truths of the world as it emerges meets the core religious values of the past. So, welcoming guests, which I'm hoping you will help us do and broaden, is part of our commitment to create safe, welcoming relationships around the world. We want to make the world more home-like for everyone. Welcoming guests and strangers and their new ideas, vetted through whatever any particular person feels on their own responsible, thoughtful journey towards their own faith is really who we are. One of the sharks, Mark Cuban, asks me, Doesn't that mean you accumulate a bunch of ideas and different people with ideas? That sounds like the Tower of Babel to me. I don't like this idea. It's too broad. And I say that is a challenge for us. We aim to be as possibly broad as you can be without standing for nothing. And the funny thing about our congregations, and we believe the world could go this way, is that actually comes to work. We actually come to cooperate. We see ourselves not as the Tower of Babel, but that's an interesting metaphor that you bring up, Mr. Cuban, because that story is a classic story of failure in the world, built by the gathering of multiple groups of people. But given that you mentioned that image, we would wonder to ask if it wasn't that people couldn't communicate because they couldn't hear each other talking, but maybe more because they weren't interested in listening. And we try to think about that truth. We try to listen. We're living on a shrinking globe. We find ourselves living on all these cultural and religious fault lines that we see around the world. We understand that we need to take great care to make sure nobody gets burned. So we build tolerance, quite a bit of it, right into a faith. One of the sharks says, does that make you sound like you're simply just committed to the classic liberal ideas of diversity and justice and freedom, and how are you just not secular? I say we do, actually. You're sort of right. We are amazingly secular. We see our commitment to improving the world, creating safety for all people, just as a religious act as meditating and praying is. Perhaps the most interesting part about this faith that we're suggesting you help us take global is that we don't make cosmic and supernatural statements about what's true and what's not true. That is really our most unique quality. And you know why? One of the sharks says, I don't know why. I don't know how you could possibly be a church without making statements. We believe that we don't know the ultimate answers to those ultimate religious questions. Do you? They all sort of nod, shake their head. No. One of them seems a little perplexed. We might be called liberals, we say, and usually mostly politically we lean that way. But in reality, doesn't that hesitation to make statements about how the universe functions beyond science and whether there's a God or not, or gods or anything like that, doesn't that really make us religious conservatives? One of the sharks says, I can't disagree with that. But that does kind of mean you're always changing, doesn't it? And I say that's true. We're always changing. We believe in that the universe unfolds in a way that's unpredictable. It is thus why justice is so important to put first. The path forward is not written in a book. We make very few statements about how things work, but we do make that one. The future is not yet predetermined. One of the sharks says, that's pretty far out. If all this flexibility, I say, feels like a dance done while the earth is moving beneath our feet, well, it is, isn't it? Good point, one of them says. Why don't you market this individually? Why don't you just take this into the homes of people and not try to do this in community? And that involves simple human nature, I would say. Just because you have less absolutes and have a little bit more freedom to sort of believe, we don't have a creed, doesn't mean that the experience of doing it together isn't important. We've looked and studied, and although religions of the past have tried to build their own sort of communities in exclusive ways, we're trying to build community in a broad way. We know that wrestling with those questions and ideas together changes it. We, just like you, know that we need to be known and supported. We need to be loved and to love. And we believe that we have a modality, a frame that more people can fit into. I'd like to think you agree. We certainly know that there are UUs. All of our statistical analysis tells us that there's more of us than we know there are. One of the sharks asked, well, how many are there? Tell me about this thing. There are 1,000 communities in this country, roughly, mostly in areas where there's large demographics, explainable kind of ways, with a proportion of us in the Northeast. But we also know that 650,000 people, we only have 160,000 people in membership at any given time in the last 10 years, adults. But we have 650,000 people who claim that they're UUs, not affiliated with any particular one of our churches. You can translate that into your own mind as franchises, if you like. We also know that when we look at forms of where the religious world is headed, from nuns to everywhere else, to people seeking community, there is a new wave of people seeking the kind of communities we think we are in. We think we have an unexamined percentage to absorb some of that market share of unchurched people. We want your help. So you're not just selling a philosophy, one of the sharks says, you're selling the very idea of community. Yes, we are. We are. We've been at this for about 200 years. We're not exclusively Christian anymore. We claim that heritage broadly, but among our panorama of heroes would include RBG, alongside Jesus, alongside Allah, alongside any number of people. We try to lift up the voices of disenfranchised groups and women and all of those untold stories because we know that's part of the human story. And have we not learned in the last 75 years that we're all one family? The sharks are shaking their head. Not simple, one says. Never simple for us. We don't believe in hell. But if we did, simple would be our hell. Sounds like a lot of people I know, one of the sharks says. That is why we are here. We are more like the average person than any other religious tradition out there. And it's really time for us to see those values enacted, and we need your help. We hold the classic values taught in churches: compassion, justice, that hold people to their communities. We lift up Jesus. We celebrate Christmas. We honor Hanukkah and lift up Ramadan and do Passover and reference Buddha's birthday most of the time. One of the sharks says, I mentioned this thing, beloved community. Is that some sneaky marketing tool you're using? Is that some cult-like offshoot? No. We picked up this notion of beloved community fairly recently, actually. We picked it up from Martin Luther King, who picked it up from the Fellowship of Reconciliation, an anti-war group. And the beloved community is holding a vision that the world can become a place where equity, anti-oppression, warmth and love, people being fed, all those visions come first. In our vision of beloved community, there is not homelessness and hunger. We solve those things first. Love and trust are systematically honored over fear and hatred. Peace and justice prevail over military conflict and expenditures. I ask you to consider our proposal for funding. Amen. Okay. It's now time for our offertory, and I think I can say that I would encourage you all, we're not going to pass the plates, we're just going to encourage you to give on the way out the door, but that isn't the joke. So I'm going to encourage you to stand up in the joke and reach forward and take something out of the person who's sitting in front of you's wallet or purse. and give generously for the life and work of this community. Okay. We're going to do the affirmation of gratitude, and then we're going to hear Gary and Severin sing us some country tunes. I think we have the affirmation of gratitude coming up. Here we go. Take it away. Let us be grateful when we have give. For many do not have that privilege. That's true. Let us be grateful for all those who share our gifts, for we are enriched by their giving. And let us also be grateful for our needs, so that we may experience the generosity of others. Yay.
You might have heard this song. Alison Krauss did it in the movie Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? It's the kind of song you usually sing along with, but don't. You have to put up with just me. As I went down to the river to pray, studying about that good old way, and who shall wear that starry crown? Good Lord, show me the way. Oh, sisters, let's go down, come on down. Oh, sisters, let's go down in the river to pray. As I went down to the river to pray, studying about what I should be, how I shall end this old lockdown. Dear Mom, show me the way. Oh, brothers, let's go down, come on down. Oh, brother, let's go down to the river to pray. As I went down to the river to hear if there's a way I'm making near. These times they're hard and drag me down. Good force, show me the way. Oh, sinners, let's go down, come on down. Oh, sinners, let's go down to the river to pray. Oh, sinners, let's go down, come on down. Oh, sinners, let's go down to the river to pray.
Thanks, Jake. A little bit of news before we do the closing words is we're up for a grant that could conceivably from the Spirit Level Foundation, and that would, you probably know about this, but we're waiting on the news. It's going to come this week, we think, and that would match $50,000 of our funds to basically hire a congregational outreach person who would do both religious education, kids in particular, and have a job that reached out into the community, in particular to reach out to become more diverse and more minority people. So cross your fingers that we get that. And and then we'll vote. We will come up on the annual meeting. We'll figure out if we want to do that and find the match for that. So we've already got most of it covered. We got about 25,000 of that covered by the DRE role, which we've already built into the budget. We'd have to find 25,000, but we'd have a whole new staff person who was designed to grow this place and fill this hall again. So you'll have a harder time finding a seat. Wait a minute! I didn't mean to do that. This week on Thursday in the evening, we also have another anti-racist group starting. It's the introductory course. So if you haven't done that and you're up for doing that, that's check into the website Thursday evening. Here's our closing words. Our church is dedicated to the proposition that behind all our differences, beneath all our diversity, there is a unity that makes us one and binds us forever together. In spite of time and death and the space between the stars, we pause in silent witness to that great unity. May the blessing of love be upon you. May love's peace abide with you. May love's presence illuminate your hearts now and forevermore. So be it. Amen. Shalom. Salam. Namaste. Blessed be. And as the Quakers say, and as it should be, now our service truly begins. Go in peace after the postlude.
Well, one of the things we believe in is Willie Nelson, so here's a Willie Nelson. It's been rough and rocky traveling, but I'm finally standing upright on the ground. After taking several readings, I'm surprised to find my mind still fairly sound. I guess Nashville was the roughest, but I know I said the same about them all. We received our education in them cities of the nation, me and Paul. Almost busted in Laredo, but for reasons that I'd rather not disclose. But if you're staying in a motel there and leave, don't leave nothing in your clothes. At the airport in Milwaukee, they refused to let us board the plane at all. Well, they said we look suspicious, but I believe they like to pick on me and Paul. On a package show in Buffalo with us and Kitty Wells and Charlie Pride. Well, the show was long and we're just sitting there, and we'd come to sing, not just for the ride. Well, we drank lots of whiskey, so I don't know if we went on that night at all. Well, I don't think they even missed us. I guess Buffalo ain't cared for me and Paul.